I'm Lily, a connectivity advisor for Animex International. I'm here to talk to you about a concept we are very passionate about, and that is how we can use our existing infrastructure to improve wildlife connectivity across transport networks. As a brief introduction, Animex is a transport ecology specialist company that prides itself on being able to identify, understand, design and implement solutions to ensure habitats remain connected as we and our transport networks grow. Animex was founded around 11 years ago, originally as a wildlife fencing company. Since then, we have expanded to provide support and solutions all over the world, working with NGOs, government departments, and many others to solve issues of directing animals underneath and over highways. To give a small insight into the exciting projects we get involved in, our team have recently been in Colorado where we helped install the world's first roadside fence for tarantulas. So, how do roads impact wildlife? By now, most of us are aware of the significant impact roads have on wildlife. While the sight of animal casualties during daily commutes may highlight this issue for some, the disruption caused by our infrastructure goes beyond the thousands of daily fatalities. Habitat fragmentation is where roads divide habitats into smaller, isolated patches, making it difficult for wildlife to move freely between areas. Collisions with vehicles are a direct cause of wildlife mortality. For many species, roads act as physical barriers. This is especially problematic for animals that rely on large territories, seasonal migrations, or dispersal for reproduction, like large mammals or reptiles. The construction of roads leads to the permanent loss of habitats through the clearing of vegetation, alteration of water drainage patterns, and soil compaction. Roads contribute to various forms of pollution, such as noise, light, and chemical pollution. Proximity to roads can alter the behaviour of wildlife, forcing animals to change their movement patterns, feeding habits, or reproductive strategies. Roads facilitate the spread of invasive species by providing corridors for their movement or by creating disturbed habitats where invasive plants can outcompete native species. Now, I'm not here to talk all doom and gloom, because as much as roads do have a negative impact, they also provide a great opportunity to connect and reconnect our landscape for wildlife. I would like to introduce you to a concept that, among others, can help mitigate the negative aspects, and that is by using existing infrastructure to improve wildlife connectivity. This may be something you already know, but if not, I hope this is something you find interesting and can take something away that you can implement on your own projects. Before diving in, I want to share a really useful toolkit recently published by Infrastructure and Ecology Network Europe. Biodiversity and Infrastructure, a Handbook for Action. This guide has been curated to help everyone understand and implement the best practices for wildlife when building new or adapting existing transport infrastructure. We have had the pleasure of contributing some information to this handbook and have been proud members of Infrastructure and Ecology Network Europe since 2014. I highly encourage you to explore this resource at biodiversityinfrastructure.org. Now, what drives wildlife connectivity in the UK? Currently in the UK, there's a widespread focus on biodiversity net gain, BNG. And while BNG is undoubtedly beneficial and does include the importance of connectivity within the BNG metric, there remains a lot of ambiguity in how this works in practice is still unknown. In our view, wildlife connectivity overall isn't adequately rewarded or encouraged in current policy and guidelines to the extent it should be. To achieve targets set out in 30 by 30, where a minimum of 30% land and sea within the UK is to be protective and conserved for biodiversity by the year 2030, we must explore innovative and easily implemented ways to improve and connect habitats. The Nature Recovery Network and local nature recovery strategies are going to really help us to work towards this 30 by 30 target, but we still need to do more. The significant lack of requirement or incentive within UK policy and guidelines to encourage people and projects to consider wildlife connectivity is a big problem, and we at Animex are trying to find ways to change this. Examples of policies and initiatives where connectivity is identified as a highly important factor in other countries: the National Ecological Network in the Netherlands, the Nature Restoration Law that sits within the EU's biodiversity strategy. The US Investment and Jobs Act has released millions of dollars to help fund projects that, and I quote, reduce wildlife vehicle collisions and improve wildlife connectivity. Now staying on the topic of how things are done elsewhere, We have spent a lot of time over the past 10 years travelling the world and learning about how different individuals and agencies approach wildlife connectivity on their transport networks. Being part of this transport ecology world, as it is commonly known, has given us the opportunity to learn so much, and I'm going to take you on a very brief tour of a couple of locations that have implemented really simple interventions to help aid animal movement under the highway. One of the first examples of adaptation to existing transport infrastructure we witnessed was during a field trip at the Australasian Network for Ecology and Transportation, or ANET as it is commonly known, in 2014. On the trip, we visited various underpasses that had incorporated the use of furniture, as it is commonly known. This furniture consisted of various logs, rocks, shelves, and objects to help aid the movement of koalas through these long underpasses. During the trip, we also visited and learnt about arboreal rope bridges and glider poles, as well as visiting one of the oldest green bridges in the country known as Compton Road. Another simple adaptation that can be made to structures is mammal shelves. These provide pathways for terrestrial animals to transverse along the edges of underpasses in areas where they may otherwise not be able to, especially in wet culverts or narrow river corridors that intercept the road. Through our involvement with the Northeastern Transportation and Wildlife Conference, NETWIC, in the USA, we have had the opportunity to learn and share experiences with colleagues across North America. This has been extremely eye-opening, and one project in particular that stands out from this community that shows how simple interventions can be really effective is on the Atlantic Expressway in New Jersey. As part of this project, we helped by repurposing some of our recycled HDPE wildlife fencing to help cover the uneven surface on the gabion wall under the roadway. The gabion wall originally installed here was to aid terrestrial mammal movement, but it was identified to be prohibitive and unsuitable for deer and other mammals to transverse due to the uneven surface. Our simple adaptation to the gabion wall, along with the installation of some new solid wildlife fencing, made from the same sustainable material used on the gabion, has helped transform this ecological barrier into a wildlife corridor. It is now being used by various species, and the structure continues to be monitored in partnership with the New Jersey Fish and Wildlife Agency. Moving back a bit closer to home, we have been involved in the design, fabrication and installation of various dormouse bridges on both national and local roads and railways. Here is an example of a dormouse bridge retrofitted to an underpass on the M1. We have numerous similar projects across the country currently in the design and approval stages, and many more in the planning stage. We have also recently designed a modular mammal shelf that can be easily attached to existing underpasses. With this connectivity feature, we are actively looking for structures on the south coast where we can monitor the use of it by all mammals, but we are especially interested in its use by pine martens as part of the many introduction programs currently underway. Recently, we have also had the pleasure of working on a National Highways Network for Nature funded project with the Devon Wildlife Trust, known as Creating Species Highways. The aim of this project is to identify and explore opportunities and ideas that could help to improve connectivity by adapting existing highway structures within Devon. The aim of this project is not to show exactly what should be done, but more what could be done and how. Within the scope, we are providing a list of suitable enhancements for the shortlisted structures identified on the A30 and A38 and clearly demonstrate how they could look through indicative 3D models and descriptions. The images I am sharing with you are from the Phase 5 summary report. It is not currently publicly available, but we will be doing more advocacy work on this project, so please keep your eyes peeled. I will share our contact details and website links at the end of this presentation. But before I do that, I also want to share a project that we are most excited about. This project, we have been calling Rebuilding Bridges, explores how we can retrospectively create green bridges out of old ones. This has led to the development of a new product we have been working on known as the Habitat Highway. The concept of the Habitat Highway is to provide an easily deployable and removable green bridge for existing overpasses and underpasses. This system can be designed and supplied in a variety of configurations, including different height, length, width, and weight specifications, as well as tailored to various soil types, species, and aesthetic preferences, such as cladding options. We are currently working with Highways on a pilot project for this on the M27 between Southampton and Portsmouth. The bridge we are working on is part of an old brickworks over the 8-lane carriageway that was originally designed to carry clay from the pits in the north, back to the factory in the south. Strangely, these bridges were never used, as not long after they were built, the factory closed down. Our project will help to reconnect the old clay pits in the north that has since been transformed into a thriving Wildlife Trust nature reserve to the site of the museum in the south, and then further towards Southampton Water and the Solent. We initially selected this site not only for its ecological significance, but also because the bridges appeared to be structurally sound enough to support the installation of such a feature. We have since discovered that there is a significant lack of technical information regarding this bridge. Although the additional load we intend to place on the structure will be similar to that of a small traffic jam, we need to know the exact condition of the bridge before we can move forward. Highways have therefore funded a structural review of this, and as soon as we have the results, we'll be able to proceed to the next stage. We are also looking for other locations to pilot this system. If you know of any potential sites, please feel free to reach out and let us know. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this presentation. If you have any questions or would like to discuss any projects, please get in touch.